Rachana Ranade here, and I welcome you all to a brand new episode number 3 of our season 1 of Funance with Rachana Ranade. Oh my God, my heartbeats are like increasing at, I can't even count the pace because this is like an absolute fan moment for me. I've never been so nervous on screen. Today I am. I literally have gotten the goosebumps. I'm trying to control my emotions and I'm taking this honor, pleasure. I'm running out of words as well to introduce the one and only, the Viswanathan Anand, sir. Sir, a big, big, big welcome on the show. Thanks for being here, sir.
Thanks, Rachana. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Many of my viewers might be like, finance and chess, is that even a combination? Why this whole people might not be able to find similarities between these two subjects, but I do see a lot of similarities, right? So just to give you a small example, the pawn, which moves just step by step, slowly, steadily, in a very disciplined way, and if it is able to reach the last row of, from my side, I'm sorry, I don't know what you call that, C6, H, whatever.
Last rank, yeah, the
last rank, absolutely. Then it can become whatever it wants to be, right? The pawn can turn into whatever it wants to be. So it's all about discipline. If a pawn is able to turn itself into whatever it wants to be, similarly in finance, if a person becomes very disciplined in his finance approach, and if he does SIPs, he starts small, does it slowly, steadily, then ideally that person should be able to achieve whatever goal he or she wants to achieve. So I think there's a big similarity between how a pawn behaves and how a person can behave if there is that discipline and consistency in the efforts. And similarly, another example I would want to give is that you do something like castling, if I'm not mistaken. There's a term, castling, right? To protect the king, right?
Yeah.
So do we have castling in insurance, in the nature of insurance in finance as well? Instead of insuring the king, we insure ourselves by doing a castling in real life, right? So these are some small similarities which I can say are there in finance and insurance as well, finance and chess as well. So I think now the viewers might be like, yes, there is some similarity, and this is going to be surely a fun episode, and all my viewers are going to be like dying to hear from you. So I'm going to shut my mouth as far as possible today, and I'm going to let you do the speaking as much as possible. So with that quick brief introduction from mine, let's start with our today's episode. So the very first question for you, sir, is that I had read in one of the news interviews that you are not allowed to participate in one of the TV shows in Philippines. Why? What happened? Could you just tell us about that?
Okay, so this was a very nice thing. They used to have a daily TV show on chess. And at the end of the show, they would give a puzzle to be solved by the members of the audience. And I mean the TV viewers, and you would send in your answers. They would take all the correct answers and put them in a box, and they would draw the winner out. And the winner would get to come on the next show and collect his or her prize, and that was it.
Okay.
So I used to be at school when the show was on. So my mother would write down everything that happened in the show. She would keep the puzzle ready for me. So we would go through the game that they showed, and then we would solve the puzzle and send the answer.
Okay.
And eventually I became quite regular. I mean, since I had a very high proportion of correct answers, I got several books. And then one day they called me in a very nice way. They said, you're winning too often, so why don't you go and help yourself to all the books you want? You could go to the library and pick a chess book as a prize. So why don't you help yourself to all the books you want? But why don't you not participate for a while? So that's how it happened.
Let others win at least once. Amazing. So many more amazing, interesting facts in quite some time. So the next question is that, sir, like when I was small, I remember my mom used to give me 50 rupees as pocket money. And I used to do meticulous planning with that 50 rupees as well, that how much money I'm going to spend for filling up air in my bicycle, how much money I'm going to spend on the ice cream, which used to be sold right outside my school. So that only with that limited resource of 50 rupees, I had to do a lot of planning. But I'm sure when you were a kid, you used to, you might be receiving a lot of prize money. And I think there might be many, many more zeros in front of that 50 rupees, which I used to receive. Right. So, any sort of planning did you do when you were a kid?
Oh, yes. I mean, first of all, I have received pocket money as well. Though I have to admit, 50 rupees is after quite some inflation, I think. So I used to get less, but it was in that time, it was enough for me to buy comics and sweets. And my poor elder brother and sister would contribute part of their pocket money to buy something for me. And so I was well looked after. The other thing I remember is I used to play when I was very young, like 8 or 9 years old. I would go to a chess tournament at the club where the first prize would be like 10 rupees.
Okay.
And the idea was I would go, if I won the first prize, I would immediately go to the near hotel and get some nice dosa with sambar and uttapam and some traditional stuff. It was a treat for a snack. And it was understood, this I earned and I can spend it. I don't have to save it and so on. I also had piggy banks and things like that. But so some concept of the idea of saving for tomorrow did happen, but mostly this was pleasure. We just spent it.
So in finance, we always say this, that you should always start small. Then you have to be very regular. So start small, stay regular, and then only you are able to make it big. So I would like to ask you, sir, that when you were a child, what were those small baby steps that you took? How did you manage to make your routine very regular? Because I think discipline again is the key here. As a kid, everyone wants to play outside, want to be like other kids. Were there certain sacrifices that you did when you were a child, so that your regularity in practice is not broken up, because of which you were able to achieve something large, something extraordinary as compared to any other kid?
Yes, it's a very nice question, because everything is made up of baby steps. Everything is composed of many, many steps. For instance, I used to play very regularly when I was young. The club was open on 3 days every week, and I would, every Monday evening, every Thursday evening, I knew I would be at the chess club playing chess and playing lots and lots of games. And the whole of Sunday, I would finish my homework, everything on Saturday, and the whole of Sunday I would keep free to spend at the club, because on Sunday it was open from 11 till 7 p.m. So a lot of hours of chess. And quite often I found that I would have unexpected jumps in my level, where I would suddenly have 3 or 4 spectacular months and break a lot of barriers. But the thing is, it seems spectacular because you've forgotten all the little work you did on a regular basis. And so it's really a question of putting in all the little details. And even chess itself is a metaphor for that. A game is not only about brilliant moves, it's about making steady progress and having a plan, sticking to it, and executing it well. I mean, Fincare itself is a good example of the power of small. It's a small finance bank tapping a large opportunity. It has expanded to 27 lakh customers, out of which 24 are rural women entrepreneurs. But it couldn't have happened one day. You have a good proposition and you steadily increase it.
May I ask you your age when you said that you used to plan your homeworks on Saturdays so that you get time to, play chess on Sundays?
This must have been when I was 7, 8, thereabouts.
Wow.
So, but for me, chess didn't feel like a sacrifice. I really wanted to play chess. So it was, very clearly my big love. And so I got my homework out of the way. I wouldn't say I did my homework with great pleasure. I got it out of the way, and then I can. It's like I can watch TV the whole weekend. I can play chess the whole weekend. It was nice.
True. Amazing. But I think most important thing is that a 7 or 8 year old kid does a lot of planning for what he or she wants to achieve. That is more important, and doing that regularly is more important. So I'm glad you did all those efforts during your childhood. Because of all these sacrifices and well planning, we got our very first Grandmaster. I have one of my team members who is a big chess fan, and he's a huge chess fan. So he's saying, hurry up, I want to talk to Anand sir. So instead of rapid fire round, we should call it as the blitz round for you, I guess.
Oh, then you'll just have to go even faster.
So, sir, I can see that you are wearing a T-shirt which has Fincare written on it. Could you please tell us more about Fincare?
Okay, so the association started some years back, and I was intrigued by the concept of a small finance bank and what role they were doing, and I compared it to the situation that chess was, let's say, 30 or 40 years ago. So 30 or 40 years ago, chess was heavily concentrated in a few countries. Mainly the former Soviet Union, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and then a little bit offshoots from there. Even in India, it had not really reestablished its roots. And in those days, the question was, how do you popularize chess? I always used to think that if you're born on a remote island and you discovered the game of chess, you would spend 2 days looking for someone who could teach you the game, maybe someone to play with. And then on the third day, you would give up, and the chess would lose you as a fan or a player. And then what happened was chess eventually started to go online, use internet, use mobile, everything to reach broader and broader audiences. And now it is no longer a handicap. There's no geographical handicap in chess anymore. You can be born anywhere. Absolutely. You'll have access to the best training methods, access to things. And so the sport has been able to grow by using this technology. And what Fincare was doing is trying to use technology to address new market segments, as it were. So imagine there are customers who are unbanked or underbanked, especially rural and semi-urban areas. So the big problem was it may not be worth it to have a bank near them, but until you have some way of reaching them, they can't benefit from the services.
Absolutely.
But now again, can you use technology to bridge that gap? Yeah. Can you use technology with digitization, automation to make it very easy, very customer-centric, and they don't need a branch?
Yeah.
And then you can operate it with fewer branches. You still have branches, but a bit more spread out, and you bridge the gap with technology. You access, you reach out to them with more diverse products. Try to bring them into things, and so that they have access to better and better services. So I saw the parallel between how chess once had to grow and how technology helped chess reach a much bigger audience, and what they were trying to do. And it is fascinating for me still that they have managed this steady growth, but being a small finance bank.
Nice. So I think it's serving the larger purpose of bringing the underserved population to be served in a much better way by making banking reach to the corners of our country, I guess.
Yes, very much, because a lot of people, we see this also in the government's thing, that they give everyone a unique ID and that they try to get everyone a bank account. You really can make a difference to people by bringing them into the financial network. Absolutely. But you have to use technology to be able to do it profitably, and that both sides benefit. So, they say, start small and then stay at it regularly, and eventually it becomes big.
Helping all in all financial inclusion of so many more people.
Correct.
Absolutely. All right, sir. So the next question for you is that we have seen this scene in Bollywood movies many times. I guess I recollect this in Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. Shah Rukh Khan was playing some chess game, I guess. And when he's playing the game, he's stuck up somewhere, and then someone else comes up and says, this is the simple move that you had to do. And the hero is like, that was so easy, how did it strike me? So has this happened to you in real life anytime that you were playing and someone else gave you an external help and you're like, I should have gotten this right? Has this happened to you?
Okay, with one big caveat.
Okay.
In chess, it's illegal to help someone during a game. And in fact, there's a whole apparatus of arbiters and things to make sure that there can be no contact between you and anyone else during a game. But having said that, I have had very intelligent advice given to me after the game. So let's make that clear. After the game, people will say, I was watching you and I think you do this too much. You're obsessed about this. Try to think, why don't you do it this way, or why don't you try this? So that sort of thing. And yes, it happened a lot that sometimes somebody will say something and you'll think, before you reject it, you think, wait a minute. Before I reject it, let me think about it a little bit. It makes sense. And you try it. And also sometimes it's good to try something that you haven't thought of. You never know, it might work. And like one of the best pieces of advice I got was, and it's quite similar in different situations. It's when you're obsessed about something, you're trying to make it work and it's not succeeding. Someone will tell you, look, relax and try to enjoy yourself. And this is just one of the best advice, because
absolutely
you're trying to force something through. But then when people tell you, drop it and try to just make a few good moves, it sounds easier than it is. You do that and there's a lot of pressure that goes off and you actually succeed in doing it. So that kind of thing, yes, it has happened to me very often, but again, not during games.
Absolutely. And like you said right now, that maybe just relaxing a bit, enjoying it rather than taking pressure of it. I think that helps a lot. May I ask you one more question, that in chess also, can I say retreating is a strategy, or always it has to be moving forward?
Not at all. You're absolutely right that retreating is a strategy.
Okay.
In fact, that is the other thing about pawns, that once they go forward, they cannot go backward.
Yeah.
So they ask you to think a lot before you commit them, because they can't come back. And in chess, there are many decisions which are, cannot be taken back. Once you do them, you're committed to whatever structure or situation results. Sure. But quite often, admitting that a plan that you had is not working and regrouping with your pieces. In fact, overcoming your ego is, I think, the big thing here. If you're following a plan, the quicker you admit that it's wrong, when it is wrong, and you back down and you come back, the easier it will be to salvage your position. So it is very important if it's possible. Like I said, there are some decisions you cannot repair and some you can. And knowing when to change plans mid-game is very important.
I think Sir right now said a very, very, very important line, that you have to understand that your move has gone wrong and don't let your ego come in between. Because many a times it happens that, because of our ego, we try to do some revenge moves. Like, I'll tell you an example about stock market, maybe that you can correlate with chess. Many a times, typical intraday traders, what they would do is that take a trade and they lose in the first trade. Then they'll take another trade, they lose in the second trade also. So basically, they are making losses in a specific day. And then the third trade that they'll take, that will be a revenge trade. That how can I lose money in the first two trades? I have to get this right. And because of which, unknowingly, without a lot of thought process being put into that, they take that trade and ultimately end up losing more money. So can I say that same rule applies to chess as well, that taking revenge trades instead of that, taking revenge moves should be something which should be really avoided in the game of chess as well?
Very much. The most dangerous players are the ones who can switch plans when necessary, can admit their mistake when they're wrong, and not overcome it. The easiest ones to beat are the ones who get in too heavily. Yeah. And then you can exploit them in a way. So that is a big mistake. And in chess, your psychology, your ego is a very big part. Your fear of losing, your overconfidence, all these things are different. And yes, that is exactly the comparison I would have thought of also. Getting obsessed with one game instead of trying to increase your profitability, as it were. The two things are not related, and you should focus on the bigger goal. And as long as you have more wins than losses, you should look at the big picture, is how I say it, both in chess and in investing. So that is a nice metaphor. And I liked your metaphor about castling, by the way. I never thought of it as insurance. I thought it's just the king running away and hiding in the corner, but maybe that's insurance.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot. With that, I'll also join one more question. Like you were saying that sometimes, people just get involved, and you said there can be a strategy that can be used to play along with the mind of your opponent. I have seen more of tennis and cricket rather than chess, to be really honest. I've seen only your games. Other than you, I really don't know any other chess player. So I can give you a comparison of tennis or cricket. Like, it happens with tennis that maybe it's the game point or a set point, and the player will just toss the ball in the air, but not hit it. Let it just drop one more time. It's just to distract that person, maybe. Or in cricket, it would happen that the bowler is coming with full speed and he's about to bowl, and the batsman will just get away from the stump and say, hey, side screen, just move away from the side screen. And he'll ask the bowler to go back and bowl again. So are there such tricks which you can play in chess to distract the opponent, play with his mind? Does such a thing happen in chess?
I mean, the similar idea exists, though it's in the actual game, it's harder to implement, but you can step away from the board, things like that. So there are versions of it. And yes, it's important not to pay any attention. For instance, one of the things players like to do while they're sitting and thinking is to make a face and try to, in fact, give some sort of evaluation of the position. So imagine I'm sitting here and I'm making a move, and my opponent either pretends to be impressed or he pretends to be unimpressed by my move, and so on. Each of these things, if you're not confident in yourself, then you start looking for these cues. You look at spectators and they look at you funnily, and then you think, did I blunder something? All these things can happen. But ideally, you should cut out the noise. It doesn't help. Yeah. If you can, just keep staring. And when I want to avoid, or there's a photographer who wants to irritate you,
that is what I wanted to ask you. How do you focus in such situations?
Yeah, at the board, I will just stare at one pawn even more strongly. I'm not actually calculating because I've got the position in my head, and I can keep calculating there. But I'll keep looking at a pawn, and that way I've stopped looking at everything else, and then people can do what they want. So that sort of thing sometimes. Or if somebody is trying to smile at you, you just ignore them and you keep looking at a pawn. In fact, it's an excellent. Have you noticed waiters in restaurants? I think the best ones, when you're trying to draw their attention, the best ones know how to walk by you while not pretending not to look at you. It's like that. If you don't make eye contact, it's brilliant. So it's almost like that. It's important to decide what is important to you and how you're going to concentrate, and then stick to that. So
amazing. So moving on to the next question, I think Bollywood freaks like me can easily relate with the movie Dangal, in which Geeta Fogart was the main character, which was played by another heroine. In that, it was showed that how her routine used to be: get up early, 5 o'clock in the morning, go out for running, a big exercise, followed by specific diet. And if you have you seen that movie, sir?
Yes, I have.
Yes, where pani puri was prohibited. Poor young girl, because she was not allowed to eat pani puri and other chaat items so that she could be more fit. So that's
why I chose chess. So that for me, any sport which bans chaat and so on is a non-starter. I can tell you that.
Absolutely. Nice. But to be a winner, to be someone extraordinary, I'm sure a routine is something which is really, really important and which has to be followed without any excuses. So could you tell our viewers that what specific routine did you follow since childhood?
I mentioned the regular visits to the club and this routine of playing chess. And I benefited from it because even though I was not training when I was young, there was no network of coaches or academies and so on in India. All that was would come much later. All you could do was play and get better. But because I played so much, a lot of stuff became just intuitive for me, and I could do it very fast. But it's built on many, many years of playing chess and regularly. Similarly, the work you do, and you develop certain habits. You have to work hard even if you're disgusted with yourself because the results are going badly. You have to do the work even if you're very happy that things went well. So you realize that when you think I can get away with anything, you're often punished, and you learn this relationship. And sometimes people will follow this discipline even later, like soldiers. It's just hardwired into you. You follow this discipline because you miss it. So that routine becomes important. And that's why one of the things I always said is find something that you really love, because otherwise the discipline feels like torture. But if you love something, then you don't notice it. And that's the difference, really. So for me, I was very lucky that I could do this with chess because it didn't feel like even work. It's something I went to naturally. And that's the key. And yes, it's true. Normally before the success, people don't realize that there's a lot of work going on, though I think by now there's so many movies that they do realize. But, and you do have to make sacrifices. So you know that the night before an important game is not the time. You can't go and indulge yourself with your friends. You have to get so much of preparation ready and get ready for the game. You can tell yourself, like summer holidays, you can tell yourself after the tournament, I'm going to enjoy for 3 days, but now I have to keep my discipline, that sort of thing. And that is typical, I would say, in all walks of life, but maybe in sport, we see it more directly.
True. And that you're talking about discipline, and you also mentioned that sometimes things are not going the way you would want to go. And that is the time when it becomes a bit tricky. Like many sports players do have to go through something like a bad patch in their careers. So I'm sure you did not go through any big bad patch as such, but if a very small bad patch, if you ever went through, how did you overcome that?
No, you're very kind. I've had bad patches go on for as much as a year and so on. You're stuck in a rut. You feel that you're not playing the way you'd want to play and nothing is working out. You're attempting to change things. You're experimenting, but things don't fall into place. Yeah. And then if you persevere and you don't give up, you one day suddenly things start working. And honestly, the difference between when you're successful and when you're not is sometimes a question of luck. One day my opponent will do the things I want him to do. The next day he will somehow have this uncanny intuition and not do anything that I want him to do. No matter what I'm waiting for him, he's avoiding by miracle. But in the next tournament, everybody will fall into my lines and I can enjoy. So, but you have to sit there and do your work and be ready, because when that that fruit falls, one thing you have to be ready to catch it, kind of thing. So, and it's a mixture. When I'm having a bad run, you need to take breaks from the game. I will simply not look at chess for 1 month or something, because you need to recover emotionally. See, there is a kind of discipline and process where you can say you look at your games, you fix your problems and so on, but your heart has to want to do it. Yeah. And sometimes I find it's easier to forget the painful moments if you just look away for a month. And then you come back and you sort of love the game again and you want to do work and you're excited. And then the work flows much faster. So it's a balance. But once again, when success finally comes, you forget everything very quickly. But you should realize that you were waiting for 4 or 5 months before things changed.
Absolutely.
So that's the important part. Equally, at the other end, if you're successful for 4 or 5 months, eventually every game you'll go. But your confidence will grow even in spite of you warning yourself. You'll tell yourself, I should not get confident. But deep down, you feel 5 months I've gotten away with everything. Probably nothing will go wrong today. And then, unfortunately, something has to go wrong before you flip back. But that's just the circle of life. So
I think you mentioned about luck, and I would just like to say this, that one of the favorite quotes that I ever really follow deep from within is that harder you work, luck seems to favor you. So for others, it is seen as if, hey, he was so lucky, but the person who has slogged off has worked so hard, he or she knows that it is not just it's not come without any reason. There was so much hard work which is put behind it. That is why maybe that 1% luck actually helped us get through the difficulties.
Yeah. There's a certain randomness as to when things work out, but you still have to keep working in the meantime. You're right.
True. So the next question for you is that what type of investor are you? Do you love to go ahead with traditional investment avenues like fixed deposits or PPFs, or are you the new age investor wherein people love to mix their portfolio with a little bit of old style investments and few of newer age investments like maybe cryptos or covered bonds or equities? What sort of mix do you prefer in your portfolio?
I'll try to answer it in a context of, let's say, risk. Okay. So, I mean, investing is more or less the search for alpha, and while not forgetting that you can lose money. Yeah. So, and it's this thing. I gradually grew to discover the role of equities, because it's clear that, especially with the kind of inflation we have, you need to accept certain amount of risk. Absolutely. I mean, in chess, if you could win games without any risk, you would go for those. But eventually you come to a point where your opponent is strong enough that the only way to beat him is to take a certain amount of risk, and then you have to fine tune that. Yeah. And of course, let's be frank, I can take more risk on the chessboard because I'm one of the best players in the world. In investing, I have concluded that the best thing is to be diversified. So there's a role for cash, of course. There's a very important role for liquidity. Absolutely. Which we see when markets freeze up completely. And this has happened several times in the last 30 years that, it's been hardwired into us that markets can completely freeze up. And that point, you really wish that you had a certain amount of cash in your hand. So there's a certain component for cash. I think you need a certain amount of risk, so equity. If you like fancier stuff, go for fancier stuff. From chess, I've learned not to play games that I don't understand, not to play lines I don't understand. So I tend to stick to, I mean, at least the risk I'm taking should make some sense to me. I should be able to explain to someone what I've done. Yeah. And if you can't, then maybe you shouldn't be in it. That's my philosophy. So yes, and I also take advice because of all the years I spent playing chess, I can be very impulsive in chess and get away with it. I cannot be like that in chess. So I have found that, for instance, my wife is more methodical and thing, whereas I will read some fun article about some new thing and I'm getting very excited to try it. But she's the one who handles the day-to-day and so on. And of course, I participate in the broad picture. And so I can tell you I'm not into crypto. Don't understand it fully yet, so I'm staying away. But
I think I think the important takeaway from this entire answer is that invest in whatever you understand. Don't invest just because someone else is investing and be really like, this seems to look very fancy, let me invest because my friend has invested in it. Rather than that, if you're not able to understand that investment avenue, it's always okay if you don't invest in a specific investment avenue, right?
Yes. And the other thing is, of course, broadly speaking, society has come to assign a certain role to income, what you earn, and return on capital, a certain role to what capital returns to you. So unfortunately, most people, we cannot get by only on income. You have to live off your investments as well, because that's the way the world is structured. And I think that's why the goal of financial inclusion is very important, because you cannot get by on one engine. You have to think, and people should avail of these opportunities, because it's the only way to increase your net worth, your assets.
Absolutely. If you wake up as Ranveer Singh one day, then how would you react to it? Because to whatever interviews I've seen of yours, you even today you are very calm and composed. And if you have seen Ranveer Singh, he's like exactly 360 degrees, exactly opposite. So if you wake up as Ranveer Singh, what would the first thing that you would do?
If I woke up as Ranveer Singh, I would try to become very calm and composed.
Nice. Okay. After a game, what is the choice of your meal? Is it sambar and rice, or is it cakes and pastries?
Well, it's diversification. You should have sambar and rice, and afterwards you should have dessert. So,
Okay. So both.
but yeah, some nice meal is where you can relax, and yes.
Nice. What is the best part of you watching your son grow?
It's really nice watching them do the things that you do, and you see yourself in them. That is very nice. It's quite funny. Whenever my son looks very dreamy, Aruna will immediately tell me, "See, he's just like you." So, and yeah, whenever they want to play with you, it's just magical. You want to run and join them and enjoy it.
Nice. Any sports person, which is your favorite sports person outside chess, though?
There's really a lot. I mean, I watch a lot of sports. I'm not like overly obsessed with only one sport. I watch football, I watch tennis, I'll watch a lot of Olympic sports, this, that. It's all over the place. And there are lots of people I admire. But when I was young, I found McEnroe particularly. I mean, I would really wait for his matches to watch it because he would do something so unexpected. And you just wait for that. I think if he was calm and composed, I would not know what to do that day.
Nice. Any favorite city outside Chennai, which you would want to visit many times?
There are too many. I like different cities for different reasons. So when you look for that, you think, I mean, some cities are nice in winter, some are nice in summer, some are nice to go for walks, some you meet friends. So it's not like one or the other. Especially in chess, you get used to traveling so much. You get spoiled if you like traveling so much that you yearn for every experience. And I like traveling, let's say, rather than a favorite city or a favorite country. I like traveling.
Absolutely. Have you ever traveled to Pune, which is my city?
Oh, dozens of times. I played a national rapid championship when they were telling me, oh, there's a new area coming up called Pimpri Chinchwad. It's going to become big.
Yeah.
So it's that long back, but I played. In fact, we played somewhere there in this national rapid. I remember that. And I've come there hundreds of times.
Nice.
So there used to be something called the Maharashtra Chess League. I used to visit very often for that. And I've come for many other reasons as well. So
amazing. Next time you come, you're invited to my house as well.
Great. We'll catch up.
Absolutely. Do you watch YouTube? And if yes, your favorite YouTuber?
I watch YouTube. One of the things I do now is if there is some doubt Akhil has, I try to see if someone can explain that concept. I watch some astronomy videos and science videos and things like that. It's nice where for once you don't have to make the effort to understand everything, but you just hear the explanation and it's good.
Yeah.
And I'll watch movies, I'll watch documentaries, almost like what I do on the internet, which is you decide you want to understand something and then you let yourself wander. And I do that on YouTube as well. One of the things I'm watching now with Akhil is Blue Planet. So he's very big. He enjoys that a lot. So I got Blue Planet and we are watching it. I bought it on YouTube and we are watching it there. And so things like that. We watch some things together.
So I think earlier we used to Google out a term if we didn't know about it. Now we YouTube a term if you want to know more about it. I think the terminology has changed. Rather than reading and understanding, it's, I guess, the audio visual which impacts, which eases out the explanation more rather than reading stuff is what I believe now. Very
much. But when you hear someone say something on video, I'll feel suspicious. I think I have to go and check the printed version. And when you read something in the printed version, you think, well, this is too long. I need to hear some guy summarize it for me. So there's a bit of both, but you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is your best investment that you have done till date, and your worst investment, if you would want to tell?
I think my best investment has been just steadily sticking to my, let's say, investment mix. And not budging. There are times when last year, 5 years back and things like that, when you really wished you had gotten in or gotten out and so on. But I've realized it's worked quite well for me that the last maybe 20 years stayed. And when things are going very badly, you just tell yourself, well, I'm going to do nothing about it. When things are going very well, instead of thinking, shall I cash out, you just forget to do it. You're lazy to go and do it. You forget to do it. And it's worked out. So
Nice.
I cannot tell you. I wish I had invested in one IPO, which went like 500 times, but it hasn't happened
yet. I think we wish that the brand's shirt that you're wearing, Fincare, if it ever comes up with an IPO, then hope
that
so.
would be nice.
We can absolutely. Sir, how would you like you to be remembered by the future generations?
I'd just be happy if they think of me warmly. That's all. Unless they're going to tell me, I don't really care. But that's what
all right. I think that is the end of the rapid fire round. Sir, any closing comments? I think it has been a wonderful session. I don't know how the last half an hour, 45 minutes went by. You were just amazing and very candid on screen. Just really loved these 30, 45 minutes. In fact, you made me feel very eased out how anxious and how nervous I was in the beginning of the interview. And now I'm pretty calm and cool. You maybe passed on those calmness vibes through the internet, right to me. So I'm feeling much relaxed right now. So any closing comments, sir, please?
Thank you. I enjoyed it. It was a nice discussion, and you're also very easy to chat along with. So you make your guest feel very at ease. It was nice. I got a chance to explain what I said, and you didn't interrogate me too strongly. So.
Thanks a lot, sir. I hope you all enjoyed the session very well. Do let us know in the comments section if you would want to know more about such more fun and interesting facts. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye.
Bye.